the camera off my face first. All right, we good? All right. So we have 9 million veterans. We have roughly about 1.3, 1.5 plus or minus service members currently. And of course, recruiting's up, recruiting's down, but the transition will inevitably happen from active duty to our veteran space. Now, one of the challenges that I often hear about, see about, as a veteran myself and have gone through, when the veteran enters into the VA space, then the process starts. Now, as easy as that can be for some veterans, or as painstaking a process as that can be for veterans, I'll always say it seems to be problematic. Once the veteran initiates the claim, if you will, then it goes into the VSOs, goes into the rating system, goes up to the national work queue, it disappears into the metaverse, and sometimes it gets lost, sometimes it gets found. I won't get into the national work queue with you today. Then we run into systematic problems along the way, not for every veteran, but for veterans nonetheless. I truly and honestly believe if there was a transitional period between leaving active duty service, where the service member's record is buttoned up, top to bottom, inside and out, take the veteran more or less out of the equation, almost all the way out of the equation, in the record, however that may transition from this active service to veteran service, and then it starts the process on its own. Now, I know we can do that. My question is, will you, not have you, it's too early, but will you consider, or will you please engage with SecDef? Start these conversations. I've had this conversation with him. I don't know if you have or not, but everyone understands the problem. Everyone understands that the transition between the two should be seamless. And for decades and decades and decades, we hear about this. This would be the greatest opportunity that we could have to catch people on the wrong trajectory that may be suicidal ideologies, may have a health care problem, something that we missed. Because when you're in this service and you're on the train, you're front sight focused, laser focused on the problem set that exists in front of you. And that bullet train's traveling down the track 1,000 miles an hour. And it does not stop for us to get off, we jump. And everything that we jump with goes in 1,000 different directions, and then it's our responsibility to try to find it somewhere in every place that we were stationed, to put it together to give to the VA, and then the VA's has that. It's their responsibility to help the veterans with that, and we know how painstaking of a process that can be. So my question is, will you, sir, please engage with the DoD and start baseline assessment from the time that we come in, through the time that we transition out, into the time into the veteran space, so our veterans are better taken care of?
You know, in looking at an oversight and what we're talking about right here, it's probably one of the most pertinent questions I think we've had, and I appreciate all the questions we have today, but you've hit at something that's very important to me, because it is the trigger mechanism for many of the bad outcomes that we see, either not getting care, having a bad experience with care, then leaving the care, or not getting the benefits that they have. Just recently, I was at MacDill Air Force Base, and we had their medical side there, the Air Force medical side, and we had our Veteran Benefits Office personnel there, some of their senior leadership. And I asked the question, just because we were talking about how this was transitioning out, and they said, I asked our benefits coordinator, I said, how many of you get people coming in who have no experience or no knowledge of what their benefits are? And almost to a person, they said, most everybody. So I've already started that conversation with SecDef. In fact, we started it before either one of us were confirmed. And because here is the bigger issue that we got to deal with TAPS, and this is our Transition Assistance Program. It is, and I say this in a generic form, so any reporter here, please listen to what I'm saying. TAPS is owned by DoD, in which they don't really have a good plan because of the way it's positioned, as you well know, to give 12 months, 18 months, however you transition out, and it goes through this contract, not deploying them, but this is just their issue. So DoD owns TAPS, and I'm blamed for it. And I think this is the part that we've got to look at as we go forward. There's got to be a more seamless transition for that, and we've already started. I think you're going to see something pretty soon about that. I just wanted to let you know that Secretary of Defense and I have talked about it. The last part on that is that question that I think, no matter what we do, one of my priorities is going to be is those that have issues coming out, having warm handoffs basically straight into VHA, especially those who are having issues with mental health issues, TBI, PTS, and those kind of things.
Because DoD has absolute authority to gather all that information and share that with the VA. And just the complexities of the global threat currently that's developing, our generation is coming into the VA. Our older generation, we're losing them. But if, worst case scenario, if we have to go all in again, it's just, the wave is just gonna, and I need the VA to be ready.
Yeah, exactly. That's also one of the emphasis of the president as well, is that fourth mission of the VA, which is our disaster and natural response, and also we're the actual backstop. There's not a, without going into classified information, which we would never do here, the VA is always a part of any national contingency that would come up in any type of scenario that we have. So we've got to be ready for that and make sure our workforce is developed. But I want to, real quick, and if I could, one of the issues that bothers me most about our transition part right now is statistics show us that a shorter time of service, a 3 to 6 year or 3 to 7 year time of service, is a drastically higher propensity for death by suicide from not just when they get out, not just 3 or 4 years later, but upwards of 40 years later. They're seeing statistics that say that shorter time frame. So that's why transition is so important.
Correct, because there's no difference with somebody that served 6 months to somebody who served 60 years, period. Thank you. I yield, sir.
Mr. Kennedy.